Okay, friends, we're going to go ahead and get started. I really appreciate all of you coming out this evening and welcome those online as well to our first State Water Plan Water Talk. Really excited that my team's here to help get feedback from you, and thank you for all of you being here. So I wanted to start off before I introduce our State Water Plan Manager. How did you use water this morning? Go ahead and raise your hand. Bill, Commissioner Winfield? Bill brushed his teeth. We had a couple people take some showers. You drank some water, made some coffee. Oh, did some laundry. Anybody else use water? You irrigated, someone sprinkled, okay. Did any of you charge a cell phone? Yeah, turn on a light. Anybody eat food? Right? So water is the basis of everything in our society, from the clothes we wear to the food we eat to even the chairs we sit on and the cars we drive. It wouldn't be possible without water. So you're coming out and spending time helping to shape the state water plan really truly impact how Utah handles our water situation and the challenges that we face. So I'm very grateful for you. Thank you for being here. I'm going to turn the time over to Stephanie McGinnis, our state water plan manager, to kind of line out the night. So thanks.
Thank you, Candace. And again, I just want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. It is not lost on me that there are many other ways that you could spend your evening. So I really value you all taking the time to join us. I also want to thank the Southeastern Utah Watershed Council. We've already been working with them on updating the state water plan to identify challenges and needs, as well as successes and opportunities here locally in the basin. So definitely want to thank them for the time and efforts. And I also want to thank them for facilitating holding this meeting here this evening at the Hideout. Mac McDonald was able to line this up, and we've got a really gorgeous venue here this evening. I do want to let our online folks know, you may have already noticed, but you do not have the ability to ask questions or make comments. However, at the end of this presentation, we will have a survey available, so you can provide feedback if you would like. We'll also have an email address up at the end, so if there's anything specific that you would like to follow up, you can feel free to do that. For those of you that are here in the room, this presentation will take about 20 to 30 minutes. And then we're going to spend about an hour just hearing feedback from you all. So feedback on what you've seen this evening in the presentation, as well as, if there's anything else that you would like to discuss here locally to help inform the state water plan. So the Division of Water Resources mission is to plan, conserve, develop, and protect Utah's water resources. And developing the state water plan is a pretty heavy lift. We could not do this without just about everyone at the Division of Water Resources, from our folks that are collecting data and modeling it to our staff that are here with us this evening to help facilitate these water talks, and to a lot of our staff that are actually helping to draft sections of the water plan. And so developing the state water plan, it falls within our mission, but the state water plan, it really is bigger than the Division of Water Resources. We rely heavily on our agency partners to help us with the state water plan, to guide the direction and to help draft content. We rely on our local partners at the basin level, such as our watershed councils, our water conservancy districts, and we also rely on the public to help inform the state water plan. So this truly is a state water plan. So for the evening, what I'd like to do is I'd like to give you an overview of the state water plan, what it is, what it isn't, why it matters to Utahns, and I also want to share how you can help shape the water plan, not just this evening, but how you can stay engaged throughout the process so that we really are reflecting the needs and the priorities of folks here local. So the purpose of the state water plan is to provide an overview of current water resources, and we also want to outline strategies and actionable steps at the individual, local, and state levels to address current challenges and also set us up for the future. So the document, my hope, is to serve as a strategic framework to support informed decision-making by those who are shaping, managing, or depending on Utah's water resources. Now, the first truly comprehensive state water plan was published in 1990, and we've had 2 iterations of the plan since then, but water planning in Utah goes back a lot further than 1990. And it's kind of interesting as we look back at this to see how the focus of the plan has changed. And to me, that's really valuable because the water landscape that we live in, it's not static. Our challenges, our needs are always changing, and so we'll see that as we look back at these plans. So the first water planning document, and again, this wasn't a fully comprehensive state water plan, but this plan was focused on development, increasing storage, and getting water to where it was needed. The 1963 plan, this was still pretty focused on storage and moving water to where it was needed. The 1990 plan, and again, this was the first comprehensive state water plan, we start to see a bit of a shift in the focus. So we have entire sections that are devoted to water pollution. We have sections that are devoted to fisheries and other aquatic life. And this plan also acknowledged water conservation as a necessary tool to manage our resources. The second state water plan, this was published in 2001, and I think we probably all already knew this, but this plan really states that we live in a semi-arid climate and that we need to be thinking about that as we're planning for the future. And in the most recent plan, it acknowledges that we're seeing a change in long-term weather trends. And this will be, this will continue to be a concern as we develop the next state water plan. And, we can see this as we kind of look around us. This is a map from the U.S. Drought Monitor, and it's showing the percent of time in weeks from 2000 to 2019 that each state has been in some level of drought. And to count as a week of drought for a state, at least half of the state has to be in some level of drought. And so we can see during that, well, that legend's a little small, but so let me help you. What I can see is that for Utah, we've experienced drought conditions about 40 to 50% of the time. So what that means is essentially around half of the year, at least half of the state is in some stage of drought. And Utahns have and continue to have concerns regarding the dwindling amount of water that's available for storage in the Colorado River Basin. This is a picture of Lake Powell in 2021, and at the time, this was a new historic low. This was the lowest it had been since it started filling back in the 60s. And then the next summer, they hit another historic low, and the next summer. And I looked last week, and Lake Powell is at about 29% of full pool, or max capacity. And I know I'm down south, but you may have heard that the Great Salt Lake is also setting some records as well. So to me, what all of this means is that we really need to pay attention to what's changing and how it might affect our thinking on how we manage our water resources. But I don't want to paint this total gloom and doom picture because to me, from these challenges come opportunities. Developments in science and how we collect data can help us to better understand how we might adapt to changing conditions and help us better manage our water resources. So for example, the Airborne Snow Observatory, or ASO for short, this is technology that allows us to conduct aerial surveys, providing a comprehensive measurement of snow depth. And we can do this across an entire watershed, across an entire basin. And maybe more importantly than snow depth, it can give us an account of how much water is actually in that snow. So snow water equivalent, or SWE for short. And traditionally, we've obtained our snowpack information from snowpack telemetry or SNOTEL sites, and those provide really reliable point measurements, but with something like ASO, we can get a great idea of what's going on at that basin or watershed level. And right now, the division is currently involved in a multi-year study, pilot study, to determine if this sort of technology might be a path forward to help us with things like forecasting spring runoff. And I also just want to mention that collaboration is key. We're working with our state agency partners, and we're working with our local partners as well as the public. And so that's why we're here tonight, is to hear your feedback and to help inform what's included in the next state water plan. And before I move on, this is probably a good time to mention what the plan is not. I wish it were, but it is not a guarantee of water. And it's also not a regulatory document. The Division of Water Resources is not a regulatory agency. However, the past shows that recommendations in the plan do sometimes come to fruition. And recommendations often come in the shape of goals or objectives. And in the last plan, approximately 80% of the goals and objectives that were in that plan have been met to date. And I also just want to touch on why it matters to you. Water affects all of us, whether it's water from your tap, irrigation from farms, water for healthy rivers and lakes, for recreation and ecosystem health. We are planning for a future that has a safe and reliable water supply that supports our communities, our economy, and protects the environment now and into the future. We really want to balance the needs of today with the need to be a good long-term steward of our water resources. So I want to just start getting down into the details a bit of the state water plan. The plan will have a total of 9 chapters, and we'll drill down a bit into chapters 2 through 8. So chapter 2, 3, and 4, I see these as the chapters that outline what the limiting or constraining factors are when it comes to how much water we have in our state and what we can do with that water. And then within those constraints, how do we support our watersheds and ecosystems, our communities, and our agriculture, chapters 5, 6, and 7. We'll also have a chapter that discusses the unique challenges and needs within 11 basins within Utah, as well as the unique opportunities and successes within those basins. So now I want to dive a bit more into each chapter. Chapter 2, this will provide an overview of Utah's water constraints. For example, we only receive so much precipitation here in Utah, and that's what we have to work with. So this plan will explain how supply and use are measured, as well as provide a current water budget that details our current supply and our current use. And I know this graphic up here is maybe a little bit busy, but what I want to point out is we can get really great information from our water budget, such as diversion and depletions, as well as return flow. And our team collects these data annually, and they run that model, and they can give us an estimate of things like use by major sectors, such as municipal and industrial, as well as agriculture. And so, again, this image here is an example of how those data can be used. So we have diversions on the left for major basins within the state. And diversion, that's a process of removing water from its natural source for human use. And then on the top right, we have depletion. So that's the proportion of that diverted water that's consumed and it's not returned to the system. And then on the bottom right, as you'll probably guess, return flow, that's the amount of water that is diverted but then returned back to a water body. And these modeling efforts are really fun for our team. It allows the team to explore trends and how changes in things such as land use, water conservation practices, and irrigation methods, how that can affect supply and use. Chapter 3 will focus in on the drivers of change that affect Utah's water supply and demand, such as changes in climate and population. We've seen more frequent and severe droughts across the state in recent years, and Utah's population is growing rapidly in many regions. And both of these trends, they can create some uncertainty for our water future. So we want to create a roadmap of how we prepare for and adapt to these drivers of change so that our water future looks a little bit more like the picture on the right rather than the picture on the left. We'll highlight how improvements in technology and conservation can help us adapt to a changing water landscape, as well as how shifts in policy and management might improve our ability to adapt, whether that be at the state or more local level. Chapter 4 will be on how water is administered in Utah. So we'll cover who does what at the state, regional, and local levels. This includes state agencies like the Division of Water Resources, all the way down to the local irrigation company. Each of these entities, they have a specific role in planning, developing, regulating, and/or delivering water. We'll highlight some key laws and agreements that shape water use in Utah, including interstate compacts that allocate river flows between states, some court decrees that are important, and we'll talk about water rights and how they're allocated, including federally reserved water rights, which includes tribal rights. We'll touch on innovations in water administration, like the Unified Water Infrastructure Plan, known as the UWIP. And this is a sort of a new plan, and the aim is to improve coordination and funding for water infrastructure projects across the state. So again, within those sideboards, outlines in Chapter 2, 3, and 4, how do we support our environment, our communities, and our agriculture? So I want to talk high level of what will be included in the plan, but I also want to highlight some water resource challenges that are relevant here at the local level. Chapter 5 will emphasize the importance of protecting our watersheds and highlight the services that they provide. Healthy watersheds provide a multitude of services, such as maintaining and improving water quality, increasing water storage, as well as mitigating the effects of floods. They also provide a lot of great habitat, and that's a key factor in supporting and maintaining biodiversity. And a lot of folks like to play in our watersheds. And not only is this great for those of us that like to play, but for many communities, this is a really big economic benefit as well. We'll also address some of the major threats that our watersheds face. Pollution and invasive species are two major ones. And pollution has a multitude of sources, and it has a multitude of negative influences within a watershed, affecting water quality for aquatic life, human use, and invasive species, both plants and animals. They can crowd out natives, disrupt ecosystems, and affect the quality and quantity of water. And one of the big problems with invasives as well is once they've established themselves in a system, they're often impossible to eradicate, and this can result in a major economic cost to communities to mitigate their negative effects. We'll also highlight some management plans that are already in place to protect our native species, especially those that are listed as threatened or endangered. And at the end of the day, without healthy watersheds, it's hard to have vibrant communities and productive agriculture. So I want to move into the next chapter on vibrant communities. And just as that clean drinking water is supported by our healthy watersheds, this is important to our communities, having clean drinking water, having safe and reliable infrastructure, and supporting growth and development. We'll cover the importance of long-term planning to ensure that our water resources are ready to support areas with a growing population. We want to ensure that our economic opportunities are set up for success as we see an increase in energy development, especially geothermal and other alternative energy sources. And that we have a strategy in place to seize future opportunities like hosting the 2034 Olympics. We'll also dive into the details of how we can better manage demand by growing water wise through the use of smart technology like smart irrigation timers. We'll also dive into all of the rebate programs and incentives and educational workshops that are available to Utahns to help make water-wise decisions. We'll highlight the positives of metering secondary connections, as well as the positives of implementing tiered water rates that reward conservation efforts. And as the saying goes in Utah, we're either in drought or we're preparing for the next one. So the plan will outline how the drought response plan helps us to monitor and respond to drought in our communities. And just as we're looking at how we can better manage demand, we'll also look at how we can expand and optimize our supply through planning for repair and replacement of aging infrastructure, the development of new infrastructure, and highlight projects that focus on water reuse, aquifer storage and recovery, as well as water loss control. And the final chapter that I'd like to highlight before we talk a little bit about some basin specifics here locally, I want to talk about productive agriculture. Ag is a cornerstone of Utah's identity and economy. The state water plan is supporting farmers and ranchers by identifying grant programs and other financial opportunities to improve operations, as well as identify ways to use water more efficiently, all the while preserving agricultural lands and traditions. So the plan will outline opportunities available through the Agriculture Water Optimization Program. And this program makes pretty significant financial investments into modernizing the state's agricultural water systems through a competitive grant process. And this funding is strategically sort of divided into two primary categories: on-farm projects as well as canal or irrigation company projects. And the idea is to address water efficiency at every stage of agricultural use. We'll talk about conservation easement programs. These are voluntary agreements between a landowner and a qualified organization, such as a land trust or a government agency, and these permanently restrict certain types of development or land use in order to protect certain conservation values. And that could be agricultural production, that could be protecting wildlife habitat, water resources, or just preserving open space. We'll also talk about the agricultural voluntary incentive program, and this incentive-based conservation program is offered by Utah Department of Agriculture and Food, or UDAF. And the goal of the program is to assist agricultural producers in managing cropland and pasture systems with implementing a wide variety of best management practices, or BMPs, to improve yield, improve water quality, build soil health, or meet other operational goals. And so we'll also dig into those BMPs and innovative opportunities both on and off farm. So with those BMPs for off farm, the focus is primarily on two core areas: improvement of the conveyance system, as well as the measurement and control of water throughout the system. And the on-farm projects that optimize, the focus is optimizing agricultural water use. These are focusing both on system infrastructure as well as the management of crops, soil, and irrigation water application. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, we've been working with the Southeastern Utah Watershed Council to identify challenges and needs within the basin as they relate to water resources. And we initially went into these conversations with sort of those broad topics that we've been discussing: the healthy watersheds and ecosystems, the vibrant communities, and the productive agriculture. But as we were having these discussions with the council members, it was, I guess, no surprise, but it was interesting to see the overlap of challenges and needs across those different topics. And so on the screen, I've just listed out some of the high-level things that were identified by the council members. So I invite you to think about these and also think about what else keeps you awake at night when you think about water at the state level or within your community, and share those thoughts in the next portion of our meeting this evening that I'll explain momentarily. First, though, I'd like to discuss how you all can stay engaged throughout the process. So we're holding meetings just like this in all 11 basins across the state from tonight through late October. And then our team will spend the winter writing. And then next summer, you'll have another opportunity to comment on the state water plan. At this point, you can read what we've drafted as a final draft, and we'll see if you all agree that this is a final draft. We'll take a look at those comments, incorporate them as necessary, and then the final draft, the final publication, will be available in December of 2026. And these QR codes, these will be up again on the final slide, so you can grab them now or you can wait. But I just want to let you know that you can sign up for email updates on the state water plan using this QR code on the left. By signing up, you'll be notified of the public comment period next summer. You'll also be notified when the final publication is available. You might receive a couple more emails along the way, but I promise that your inbox will not be bombarded with state water plan emails. Now, the QR code on the right, this will take you to our Watershed Councils page. If you'd like to engage at a more local level on water issues, the Watershed Council meetings, they occur quarterly. And this page will provide you with information on when the next meeting will occur and how you can join that meeting. Again, this QR code will be up at the end, but especially those of you online, we really hope that you will take the time to take this survey. You can comment on what you've seen this evening, and you can also provide additional comment, any sort of feedback that you have. But it should only take 5, maybe 10 minutes max, so we really do hope that you'll join us in taking that survey. For those of you that are here in the room, you are welcome to take this survey as well, but we do hope that you will stay with us and join us for a little bit of a breakout session. I see these, you can ask us questions and we'll answer them to the best of our ability, but I really see these as listening sessions. We really want to hear what you all are thinking when it comes to water here locally in the basin. A couple of things, just I guess rules of engagement. We just ask that you share the time, maybe if you can limit your initial comments to just a couple of minutes, just to make sure that everyone feels they have the opportunity to speak. But we'll take about an hour to hear your thoughts on that. I also would just like to let you know that we will be recording these conversations. If you've ever led a discussion, it's really hard to do a good job of that and take notes. So this way our staff can really focus on engaging with you. And then the last thing I would like to ask of everyone this evening is to just please be kind to each other. Water is important to us all. We all have unique perspectives on why water is important to us. So with that said, I would like to just quickly introduce some of our other staff members. We had a plan to sort of break out into different tables, but I think we have a small enough group that we could probably just chat as one big group. But I just want to introduce Becca. She is our state water plan specialist. We also have Jack. He is one of our senior GIS analysts. And we have Richard, one of our senior engineers, here with us this evening. So they each have a few questions for you as we chat. But as I mentioned, I'd really like to see this be more of a listening session where we're letting you inform us on what you would like to see in the state water plan. We also have a few other folks with us this evening. So you've already met our director, Director Hassenjäger. We have Carly Payne here with us this evening, our Watershed Council's coordinator. And we have Michael Sanchez, our Public Information Officer. And we also have Paul here running the show for us this evening. So thank you, Paul. So with that said, I'd like to thank everyone here in the room and online. As promised, all of these QR codes are back up. And again, for our online folks, thank you. And we do hope that you'll take the survey and share your thoughts with us.